Okay, welcome to the deep dive. So, what we do here is take your stack of sources, could be articles, research, maybe your own notes, and we really dig in.
Yeah, we try to pull out the most important bits, the insights that actually matter, maybe the surprising stuff you wouldn't expect.
Exactly. The goal is basically to give you a shortcut, right? To get you genuinely informed on whatever topic we're covering.
Think of it like we're navigating that pile of info with you, figuring out not just what it says, but, you know, why it's relevant.
Absolutely. And today we're diving into social media, which, let's be honest, usually gets a pretty tough rap.
Yeah. You always hear about the downsides, the doom scrolling, misinformation, all the negativity.
The pile-ons feeling like it's just, I don't know, melting our brains sometimes.
And look, those criticisms are valid. They get discussed a lot, and they are important things to think about.
Totally. But the sources you've brought for this deep dive, they take a bit of a different angle.
They do.
This stack, it sort of acknowledges all that right at the start, but then it pivots. Pretty hard, actually. It's basically a collection of these really powerful, kind of inspiring stories. Specifically, 10 examples we're going to look at.
Right. 10 moments where platforms we all know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok, weren't just for, like, sharing cat videos or arguing.
No, they became literal lifelines.
Exactly. These sources focus on times where these digital tools were directly involved in, well, saving lives, coordinating aid, mobilizing help.
Connecting people in really urgent, critical situations.
Yeah.
So our mission for this deep dive is maybe to set aside the usual negatives just for a bit and really explore these specific positive examples.
Okay.
We want to understand how these tools, in these specific instances, manage to mobilize communities, enable actual rescues, drive real-world impact.
In ways that maybe get overlooked sometimes.
Yeah. So we're focusing only on that powerful transformative potential that's highlighted in these 10 stories from the source material.
It's about looking at the incredible capacity for good that can exist there when they're used in certain ways.
Okay, so let's start unpacking this stack. We've got stories covering, well, everything from individual survival to like global movements.
Right.
One thing that keeps coming up is how these platforms can be vital during personal emergencies, especially if, say, normal communication lines are down.
Right, like that incredible story from Crete back in 2019, Sandy Alcock.
Oh, yeah. Hiking alone, right, and had a terrible fall.
Yeah, slipped, fell down this cliff face, hundreds of feet, steep slope, really remote area.
And she was badly injured, couldn't move, no obvious landmarks. And the crucial part, her phone signal was super weak.
Barely there. Not enough for a proper call, certainly not enough for emergency services to pinpoint her location easily.
Right.
But somehow, with that tiny bit of signal, she managed to open Facebook. And she took a photo.
A photo of the coastline she could see below her, right? Which was pretty distinctive.
Exactly. And she just posted it publicly, just, hoping anyone might recognize it.
And that's where the whole social network thing really kicked in, didn't it?
Instantly. That post just got shared like wildfire. Hundreds of shares, reaching way beyond just her friends.
And one of those shares reached someone local.
Yeah, a local scuba instructor. Someone who knew that exact stretch of coast really, really well, but from the water.
Wow. So he recognized the view from just that one photo.
He did, and because he recognized it, he could tell the authorities exactly where to look.
Which meant they could send a rescue team straight to her.
Yep. After 8 hours trapped there, injured, they airlifted her out.
8 hours. Wow. That single photo, shared through the network, seen with the right person, that was everything.
It wasn't just the photo itself, though. It was the platform's ability to spread it so fast, so wide. It basically created this huge decentralized search party.
Reaching someone with that critical local knowledge. Amazing.
Yeah, it shows how speed, reach, and just those unexpected connections between strangers online can come together in a moment of real need.
Incredible. And it wasn't just like dramatic cliff rescues either. That same idea, leveraging the network for urgent local help, worked for something more everyday too. Like finding a lost dog.
Jason Biggs' dog, Gina. Yeah, Halloween night in New York City, 2017.
Chaos of trick-or-treating, dog gets loose. Nightmare scenario. They're searching everywhere, getting desperate.
Right. And he has a big following, so he turned to Twitter, posted a photo of Gina, asked for help.
And the network effect just took over again.
Totally. Thousands of retweets, comments. People were genuinely trying to help find this dog. The hashtag #FindGina, It wasn't just a tag.
It became like a real-time communication channel for this huge search effort across the city.
Exactly. People who didn't know him, didn't know the dog, they were sharing it, keeping an eye out, commenting if they saw anything, like a virtual dragnet, as you said.
Yeah.
And just a few hours later, miles from where she got lost, a woman sees the viral post, recognizes the dog she just found, and gets in touch.
Gina was safe. All because that urgent message got amplified way beyond their immediate circle to the one person who could help right then, right there.
So yeah, from a remote cliff in Crete to a busy NYC street, you see social media mobilizing a relevant community super fast, using shares, hashtags.
Turning online connections into actual real-world help almost instantly.
It's that speed and scale,
Yeah.
you know? Traditional methods just couldn't match that in those moments.
Okay, so building on that idea of urgent needs and rapid response, the source material also talks about direct financial and medical aid,
Wow.
bypassing the usual channels.
Yeah, the story of Lexi and the elderly man at the pharmacy, that was 2021. Really powerful example.
She saw him, he couldn't afford his heart medication, right?
Exactly. Needed it, couldn't pay for it.
And instead of just, I don't know, paying for it herself right then, or starting a local collection tin, she used TikTok.
Yeah, she filmed a short video, really heartfelt, just explaining what was happening and asked her followers if they could help chip in.
And TikTok's algorithm, its huge user base, that played a big role.
Absolutely. The video just blew up. It resonated emotionally with millions of people almost overnight.
Why do you think that one specifically caught fire like that? There are so many videos on TikTok.
Well, I think it was a few things. A very clear, immediate human need. The vulnerability of the man, you could see that. And Lexi's empathy felt really genuine. The algorithm probably saw that high initial engagement, people commenting, sharing, reacting emotionally, and just pushed it out wider and wider. A positive feedback loop.
And all that viral empathy actually led to real money, real help.
Oh, yeah. Seeing the response, Lexi set up a GoFundMe, linked it right from the TikTok. Donations flooded in from everywhere. They hit the target for his meds in hours.
But it didn't stop there, did it?
No, much more. The generosity was overwhelming. They ended up raising enough to fund a life-saving surgery he desperately needed but couldn't afford.
Wow.
His family literally said social media saved his life. It just shows how one simple, compelling story, shared authentically, can tap into that massive reach and engagement.
To unlock huge collective generosity for someone's critical need.
It's fascinating. A platform usually known for entertainment becomes this super effective channel for global financial aid, medical aid even.
Connects the need directly with the means on a huge scale.
And so fast.
Yeah.
It bypasses borders, bureaucracy, allows that empathy to translate directly into funding really, really quickly.
Okay, now let's scale up a bit. From individual aid to large-scale social movements, the sources talk about hashtag Black Lives Matter.
Right. A movement whose online presence really grew and evolved, starting back around 2013. And social media wasn't just, an echo chamber.
No, it became this central hub for organizing, sharing information, demanding change.
Millions used the hashtag. But it wasn't just about tweeting, it translated into action.
How did that work? How did the online translate to offline impact?
Well, the platforms provided the infrastructure, really. People shared personal stories, testimonies that maybe countered the dominant narratives, made the issues feel personal, relatable to more people. They coordinated protests in real time, using group chats, event pages, allowed for really rapid response, massive turnouts across cities, even globally.
And spreading information, too, like educational resources, fundraising.
Exactly. Fundraisers for legal defense, for bail funds, for community projects, all amplified through these networks. And that collective volume, millions of voices, plus the visible coordination online, it put immense pressure on institutions, on policymakers, companies.
Contributing to shifts in public awareness, tangible policy changes eventually.
Yeah, it showed how this networked public sphere could amplify marginalized voices and drive really significant social change worldwide.
That's a huge example of social media as a tool for collective action, for accountability, a platform for civil rights.
It fundamentally changed the speed and reach, how movements like that could organize and get their message out.
Okay, shifting gears a bit now. From social justice to economic resilience. The sources also talk about small businesses during the COVID lockdowns.
Yeah, that was tough. The pandemic threatened to just wipe out so many local businesses, right? The ones relying on people coming in.
They were facing closure.
So many turned to social media, not just for normal marketing, but for survival.
Updating hours, talking about safety rules, offering online ordering, curbside pickup.
Yeah, and those really heartfelt posts from owners sharing their struggles, that sparked community efforts. Hashtags like Save Our Spots.
Communities rallied online, didn't they? Sharing posts, buying gift cards, ordering takeout, just trying to keep their favorite places going.
Definitely. And that story of the Texas donut shop owner. His son tweeted about the empty store.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, just a simple tweet.
Simple, authentic, but it went viral locally and even further the next day. Lines out the door.
Amazing.
Social media provided that direct line between these really vulnerable businesses and the community support they needed to survive that massive economic shock.
It fostered this sense of local solidarity online that had immediate real-world economic results offline.
Yeah, it shows how these platforms can actually strengthen local ties, even when people can't physically be together, like a digital town square enabling support in a crisis.
Right, a digital town square. I like that. Okay, circling back to urgent medical needs, there's another incredibly moving example in the sources about finding an organ donor.
Yes, Anaya's story. A young girl with a very rare, life-threatening liver disease. This is back in 2018.
And the family had tried all the usual routes for finding a living donor. Time was running out.
They had exhausted the traditional avenues, yeah. So they posted this detailed personal plea on Facebook, explained her condition, the urgency, included photos of her.
Just putting it out there.
And again, network effect. That post was shared thousands and thousands of times all across the country, amplifying this very specific critical medical need to this vast audience.
An audience the normal medical networks couldn't easily reach for something like this.
Exactly. And unbelievably, a complete stranger in a different state saw the post,
Just saw a post?
felt compelled, got tested, and turned out to be a perfect match.
No way.
Flew across the country, donated part of their liver, saved Anaya's life.
That is just profound. Social media literally bridging that physical distance between someone in desperate need and the one person who could provide that unique, life-saving help.
A connection that really was only possible because the platform allowed that very specific message to reach such a broad yet potentially relevant group of people.
It really highlights how personal stories, amplified like that, can connect the dots for these incredibly rare, critical needs. Finding that needle in a haystack like a compatible donor.
Yeah, it turns these sometimes impersonal feed into a channel for these deeply personal, life-altering appeals.
Oh yeah, the flooding was catastrophic. Communication lines were down, emergency services completely overwhelmed, people were trapped.
Couldn't contact help, couldn't reach family.
So they turned to whatever platforms they could access, Facebook, Twitter. And they weren't just posting general cries for help. No, they were specific, right? Photos, names, exact addresses of trapped people, using hashtags like #HarveyRescue.
And this is where the sort of distributed nature of social media became so important. Volunteer groups, like the Cajun Navy.
Ah, yes, the Cajun Navy, amazing group.
They weren't waiting for official orders. They were actively monitoring those hashtags, those posts, in real time, using that crowdsourced info to figure out where to go, coordinate rescues themselves.
Like that story of the mother and her kids trapped by rising water.
Yeah, a neighbor saw their plea on Facebook, knew exactly where they were, and managed to alert a nearby volunteer boat. Got to them just in time.
So social media became this essential, flexible, like real-time communication layer when the official systems were just overloaded.
Enabled that decentralized community response in a huge crisis.
It really shows how these platforms can empower regular citizens to organize and help each other directly when official help is stretched thin, a tool for community resilience.
Yeah, it turned people from passive users into active participants in the rescue effort.
It's not always life or death emergencies, though. The sources also point to mobilizing support for ongoing needs, like funding for schools.
Right, the Oklahoma teacher story from 2019. That's a great example. Her school faced severe budget cuts. Classroom supply cabinet was literally bare.
Kids didn't have basic stuff, pencils, paper.
So she posted on Facebook, shared a photo of the empty cabinet, explained the situation, the need for simple supplies.
Just a simple post again.
Simple, but it hit a nerve. It went viral. Tapped into a lot of empathy for teachers, for students. Parents shared it. Local businesses, even celebrities picked it up. Reached people all over the country.
And donations just started showing up, addressed right to her school.
Poured in. By the time school started, every kid in her school had the supplies they needed.
That's fantastic.
But the impact was bigger than just her classroom. Her post sparked similar drives, similar conversations in other communities facing the same problems. It highlighted a systemic issue, really.
Galvanized support nationwide for teachers.
Yeah, it showed how a personal story, shared authentically, can use that network reach to spark collective action, collective generosity for a common good.
Leveraging that personal connection to spotlight a bigger need shows the platform's power to turn individual appeals into wider movements for support.
Exactly. Demonstrated how one single post can start this cascade of generosity and awareness.
And then I suppose the ultimate example of viral fundraising power in the source material has to be the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, right? 2014.
Oh, definitely. What started as basically a dare among friends, mostly shared on Facebook initially.
Just morphed into this massive global phenomenon.
The mechanism was really clever, wasn't it? Film yourself getting soaked with ice water, post it, challenge friends to do it too, or donate to ALS research, or both.
And the virality was just insane. Everyone was doing it. Celebrities, athletes, politicians,
Your neighbors?
everyone. And the impact was incredibly concrete, huge. In just a few months, that campaign raised over $115 million for the ALS Association. Wow, $115 million. From people pouring ice water on themselves and sharing videos.
And it massively boosted public awareness for a disease many people barely knew about before.
It's an unbelievable demonstration of how a simple, engaging, really shareable idea can harness the viral potential of social media.
To become this record-breaking engine for fundraising and awareness, it tapped into social dynamics, the platform's ability to spread challenges super fast through networks.
Turned a quirky idea into a global force for good.
Yeah.
Okay, and finally, the source material touches on something tougher but important. The role of social media in conflict zones. Places like Syria, Ukraine.
Right. In these incredibly fast-moving crises where traditional news often can't get in or infrastructure is destroyed,
Right.
social media becomes a primary channel.
For ordinary people caught in the middle, sharing updates, photos, videos in real time. Raw, unfiltered accounts from the ground.
Exactly. And that information, while you always have to be careful about verification, of course,
Yeah.
it provides critical context, raises awareness globally in a way that wasn't possible before.
And it actually helps drive humanitarian response.
It does. Campaigns like hashtag Stand With Ukraine, hashtag With Syria, amplified by viral posts, shares, they've raised millions for civilians, for refugees. They've spurred international relief efforts.
Even influence policy sometimes.
Yeah, by bringing the human cost of conflict directly onto people's screens worldwide. And on a personal level, there are stories of families separated by war using Facebook groups to find each other, coordinate safe passage.
Using the platform to connect individuals across huge dangers and logistical barriers.
Yeah, these stories show the platform's role in crossing borders, raising global awareness for urgent humanitarian crises, and enabling both huge aid efforts and those incredibly personal reconnections amid total chaos.
They show the potential for these tools to give us a vital, if sometimes difficult, window into hardship and maybe a pathway for global compassion to turn into direct support.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking back at all 10 of these examples, these specific stories highlighted in your sources, it really does paint a different picture of social media than the one we usually focus on, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. What these stories consistently show is that, yeah, despite all the known problems, these platforms hold this profound power for good when used intentionally.
They demonstrate how social media can, effectively unite people for specific needs, provide support right when it's critical, facilitate rapid rescues.
Mobilize huge movements for change, fund essential needs incredibly quickly across vast distances. It's about using the underlying technology, that network effect, the speed, the potential for amplification, connecting people who are far apart but united by a cause.
Using all that for positive results.
And they remind us, I think, that behind every profile, every post, there's a human story. And the connections these platforms create can actually reveal the best of us.
Yeah.
Our compassion, our ability to help each other in really significant, even life-saving ways.
It really brings that human element in the digital world into focus, and the source material kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Something to chew on.
It does. It basically asks you, the listener, to consider the power that's inherent in these tools, the ones you probably use every single day.
Right. Think about it. That one post you might share or a simple comment you make, maybe just passing along some information to your network.
Could potentially, just maybe, start a chain reaction. Something that makes a real positive difference in someone's life. Or inspires positive change on a bigger scale, just like we saw in these incredible stories we talked about.
What could that potential look like for you?